He says in verse 36, Yasya yadviti vihitam karma tat kartavyam adarpanam tatosya karma bijanam ichhennasyur mahankura. Understanding that Varenya's question is a result of a thought process full of doubts, Sri Gajanan Prabhu begins his reply. He says, O King, assimilate completely what I say with a relaxed mind and body. Then all doubts, good and bad, will disappear. The Vedas have instructed for the benefits of all the deserving seekers of the world. Then how can there be a possibility of restrictive instructions for desireless actions or actions with desire? In the normal course, the instructions for actions with fruits have been advised for the primarily deserving seekers, throwing light on the spiritual practice that is incidental to those actions. Instructions of knowledge of that which is beyond are given through Upanishads and other scriptures to those whose mental vital consciousness substance is pure by engaging in the spiritual practices which enlighten the path of karma and purifies the mental vital consciousness substance. Such people alone can be made to understand, be impressed upon, and be approved through these instructions. The yearning for attaining the state of Brahma is created in them, and all the tendencies for actions with a desire fall. In the end, they get attached to the path of meditative union. Since this is the sequence that is pre-decided, instructions for desireless actions are not given in the initial stage. So your first doubt is clarified. Now to explain your second doubt. As long as the seeker who has assumed the body and mind with the soul enshrined in it remains in the body, there is no chance for him to give up karma or actions. Then how can he give up the karma which is ordained according to his self-dharma and the spiritual practice that is related to it? If he accomplishes all other things without following his own dharma, it will only lead him to hell. It is essential for attending to one's ordained duties because one assumes the body is based on the karma done in the previous birth. In fact, the seeds of the karmas done in several past lifetimes are already present in the body of the individual soul as an accumulation of merits and demerits. Their effect is reflected in the different tendencies created in his heart, which can be felt at every step. As a result, knowledge too does not arise, which the individual is definitely aware of. Then, what is the use of giving up actions with desire alone? Actually, it is impossible to give them up. It is essential that the seeds of the tendency for karma should be destroyed. For that purpose, a mere sacrifice of actions with desire is not the solution. He should try to sacrifice the fruits of actions. That is the correct solution. How does one make that happen? This is conveyed in the following verses. Chitta shuddhischa mahati vijnana sadhaka bhavet vijnanena vijnatam param brahma munishwaraihi. In this 37th verse, Sri Gajanan Prabhu says to King Varenya, the purpose of assuming this body is the performance of previously ordained karma. The seeds of different kinds of tendencies are created in the individual for that purpose alone. Only by its enjoyment can those tendencies be destroyed. That is why he develops an inclination to perform the karmas ordained by dharma. Therefore, all the ordained dharma according to the four castes and stages of life in which he is born and the daily rituals and karmas related to it have to necessarily be performed. Nevertheless, so that the fruits of those actions are not binding on him and the purpose is achieved, the seeker should surrender the daily ordained actions to me and experience the feeling that the Atma within him is me and do all actions with that conviction. This is the main predetermined path. In other words, He neither has to give up actions nor the bondages takes place. This is its special mystery. The karma of Ashwamedha Yajna has been determined for attaining the post of Indra. If the same karma is performed to attain my devotion, then I, as regulator of the time frame for karma, as Vignaraja Prabhu, instead of giving that seeker the position of Indra as the fruits of performing the Ashwamedha Yajna, shall give him the state of Swananda joy. How does it happen? It happens like this. By performing the Ashwamedha Yajna, the merits that he has earned are used by me to destroy the proportionate sins that the seeker has committed. Therefore, even the merits gets destroyed. Thus, the result of surrendering to me is that the seeker goes beyond all merits and sins, thereby attaining the joy of Swananda. This is the mystery that has to be understood. In brief, one should do all the daily ordained karmas for attaining my devotion, so that the sins and merits that take place are absorbed and the seeker attains my abode. In this way, it is possible to do one's karma and become free from its bondage, as the seeds of karma sown earlier do not get germinated. The karmas get performed, but when they are surrendered to me, they lose the ability to give fruits related to those actions. In other words, the seeds of the tendencies to do those actions are completely destroyed. This process is known as the path of Shuklagati or the path of light. The same thought is continued in the following verse as well. Shri Gajanan Prabhu says to Varenya, both of your doubts have been completely removed. The seeds of karmas performed earlier form roots and sprout in the form of tendencies. As a result, a tendency for performing karmas with desires is created. This is automatic and cannot be given up. Rather, it is impossible to give it up. Therefore, the individual soul who yearns for liberation should perform them to please me. In other words, those karmas should be surrendered to me, and then the seeker does not have to enjoy its fruits either. Instead, he gets my love, and his mental vital consciousness substance gets purified. Then they turn towards yogic spiritual practices, which I have already described to some extent. I would like to repeat it again here. The rising desire for knowledge is the dirt of the mind. Its impact being very strong, the desire for attaining the divine does not arise in it. But since good actions continue to happen in surrender to me, the tendencies or fruits of those actions get burnt away. This means that the taste for enjoyment of Swarga does not arise at all. When such a thing happens, it means that to earn my love, the seeker is observing penance in the form of practices of his dharma. Due to the effect of such penance, the sacrifice of all kinds of material pleasures is established within that seeker, and all kinds of tendencies towards material objects get burnt away. Once this happens, and because of that connection, questions such as what is this play of Maya? What is its nature? How does one actualize the state of Brahma? Arise in the mind of the seeker. After that, he gains knowledge of the path of meditative union for actualization of the Supreme. He then starts the practice of superconscious meditative union. Through that yoga, even the awareness of the dissolution of causal matter does not remain. When even this does not exist, sacrifice itself is burnt away. In the end, after the accomplishment of supraconscious meditative union, the seeker totally experiences the Tattvamasi stage. In this manner, by following the path with equal efforts, great Munis have actualized the state of Brahma. You too follow the same path. He says so to Varenya. Tasmat karmani kurvanti buddhiyukto naradhipa natva karma bhavet kopi swadharma tyagavam sthata. In this 38th verse, Shri Gajanan Prabhu says, absorb with complete attention all that I said about attaining me. Nothing will be achieved by giving up actions, and it is not at all possible for an individual to give up all actions. So, keeping in mind what I have mentioned above, one should perform one's daily ordained karmas as per one's own dharma, wherever one may be placed in life, and surrender the fruits of those actions to me. This is the path of desireless actions, or actions without desire for fruits thereof. One should perform actions by relying on one's intellect, buddhi. My wife is seated in the individual soul, and if one surrenders to her and performs all actions with her inspiration, then by following the path of action mentioned above, you will be able to attain me. This is the meaning of the verse Buddhi Yukto Karmani Kurvanti. Simply by relinquishing one's karma externally does not make a person free from karma, because actions such as eating, drinking, speaking, walking, etc. are all actions of the body which will happen anyway. Then how can one be with a body devoid of all action? While all these actions are taking place, merely giving up those actions ordained according to one's own dharma is not the characteristic of inaction. By being like that, one shall descend in evolutionary status, which is like attaining hell. Therefore, as said above, for the sake of my love, do all the dharma ordained karmas, staying where you are, and surrender them all to me. This is the royal path which will cater to your well-being. He continues further, elucidating the same thing in the next verse, verse 39. Jahati yadi karmani tata siddhim na vindati ado jnanena dikaraha karmanneva prayujyate. It is for the enjoyment of karmas predetermined according to one's destiny that one has assumed a body and taken birth on earth. One or the other karma will continue to happen all the time. So, the karma that is sacrificed is actually the sacrifice of performing one's ordained dharma. What can be accomplished by that? Inaction amounts to nothing, but due to the sin of giving up one's own dharma, one will definitely go to hell. One will also not be able to accomplish anything in society. If a person with great determination gives up all actions relating to the body, then that body will die. By giving up action in this manner, one shall never be able to obtain the supreme state. The reason being that the original seed that is necessary for attaining a human birth gets germinated from the seed of tendencies that creates a desire in the mind to enjoy different objects. In other words, anyone who tries to contemplate on the knowledge of Brahma with a mind filled with tendencies gets destroyed. This is because the soul of the person, without destruction of ignorance of the mind, does not allow the possibility of knowledge to arise in it. This is the meaning of the verses Adi Jnane Nadikaraha. Firstly, one should perform all duties linked to one's dharma and thereby destroy all vasanas. The urge for enjoying bodily pleasures will then be completely removed from your mind and body. One will enjoy bodily pleasures or suffer sorrows only according to his destiny. We should be able to tolerate that. In due course, if this attitude becomes firm and if one strictly follows one's dharma, then it leads to the purification of the mind of that individual soul. When true desire to attain me arises in the mind and heart of a seeker, then he should have developed absolute discrimination in relation to material objects within his subtle body. Its indication is that he should be satisfied with what he gets according to his destiny. If this is imbibed deeply within his mind, then it can be said that he has become deserving of that knowledge. This is the meaning revealed by the verse Karmanyeva yujyate. Closely following this is firm determination in the belief of the knowledge of the Supreme Brahma, for the actualization of which one has to adapt to the faith of spiritual practice. He goes on to explain how to attain it and its sequence. Actions with desires are always binding, and all actions done according to dharma look as fulfillers of one's desires. Therefore, giving up all actions and begin contemplation on knowledge. Such thoughts began arising in the mind of King Varenya. Knowing this, Sri Gajanan Prabhu suggested the mysterious secret, which was, as long as one has a body, one is not free from actions. That is why I, who am occupying the position of that which is to be attained, the Atman, to that alone one should surrender all actions. This means that one should do all actions from whatever and wherever they are located, according to one's dharma, only for the sake of my love. Then the purification of one's mental, vital consciousness substance happens easily, and one can become deserving of the knowledge. This kind of process for spiritual practice takes place only in such a conducive place. Let us look at the explanation in Gargya Maharshi's commentary on the subject. He says, the man who has undertaken the process of attaining the state of Brahma should do all actions only for attaining the love of Ganesha. Such an intellect promotes well-being. When actions are done in surrender to Ganesha, then the tendency of the mind for enjoyment from material things gets destroyed, and the seeds of karma get completely burnt away without any residue. It is only by such an understanding of karma in relation to the body that one can truly become actionless, considering that the body is bound by karma, else it is absolutely impossible. Doubts were expressed on this narration that if any action that could lead to the attainment of the state of Indra, then what can be accomplished by surrendering to Ganesha, who is of the nature of Atman of the whole universe? Ganesha, who is the embodiment of all powers and authority of self, is decidedly beyond all karma and everything else. Instead of that, if all actions are sacrificed and all efforts are directed towards contemplation of that knowledge, then what is wrong in that? Replying to this doubt, he says that there is no possibility of such a thing ever taking place. This is because the body itself is for action, it cannot exist without action. The waking state creates action of waking. Then when we go to sleep state, the actions of dreams happen. In both states, when we consider the twilight time, then deep sleep state happens. Thus, for the body whose existence is conditional, it is not possible to throw away all actions. Then the question arises, how can inaction take place? If that does not happen, then how can one attain the state of being in the self? If with the sacrifice of actions, one begets sins due to the fault of having sacrificed the ordained karmas according to one's dharma, then in the end one will get a fruit which is that of going to hell. He shall not attain any siddhi whatsoever. What has to be understood is that it is only with the support of the intellect that one can perform one's dharma, ordained actions, by which one's subtle body consisting of the mind and intellect get purified. As a result, attachment towards objects and their enjoyment falls away, and it is only after that that one becomes qualified and deserving of attaining the knowledge. This ends chapter 4. In the next audio, we shall see about Karma Yoga.